So here I will be telling about the introduction to Python. So, and its advantages and various applications of Python. So first of all, we should start like what is Python? So Python is a programming language which was created by Guido van Rossum and it was released in 1991. So Python is used for many purposes, whether it is web development, like for creating websites, for doing software development, to create different types of softwares. And we can also use Python to do mathematics because Python has a rich set of library where it has a lot of functions for working with mathematical problems, development features. So different kind, even Python can be used for developing games because it has a separate library for building games. So that is about Python. Then what can Python do? So as I mentioned before that Python can be used on a server to create web applications. So Python can be used to create websites. Then Python can connect to database systems. Now using Python, you can also store the records. Like when we visit any website, the data just not the data which you see on the websites that do not come like that. Like the data is actually stored in their databases. So database is basically a collection of records. So we can use Python to connect with those databases to create a full-fledged website, which can also store the data. So with Python, we can also read and modify the files. So because with files, we can store huge amount of data. So, and even files can actually be stored for a long period of time in the system. So with files, uh, we can add huge amount of data. Basically, it is used to create text files. So we can create text files with Python. We can read those text files. We can modify those files as well. Then Python can also be used to handle big data and perform complex mathematics. So with Python, we can, as I told you, that it is it is able to manage huge amounts of data, and that data can be used to perform complex mathematics. Now, why do we need to learn Python? So Python works on different platforms, different operating systems, whether it is Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So that is the one of the advantage of why should we learn Python. Then Python is a simple syntax similar to the English language. Now, if you compare Python with Java, Python has a much more simpler syntax because it is very simple to like read, learn, and write. And if you compare it with other languages like Java, C, C++, those are little complex to understand. So this is one of the advantage over other languages. Then Python has a syntax that allows developers to write programs with fewer lines than some other programming languages. Now, Python, as I told, that has a rich set of libraries. So instead of writing very long lines of code, we can use those libraries and their functions to make our code easier and smaller. Then Python runs on an interpreter system. Interpreter system means that code can be executed as soon as it is written. So this means that prototyping can be very quick. Whereas if you compare it with Java, in Java, the code is not quickly executed. First, it has to be compiled. So it is a two-step process to run a Java program. So compiler is used to check for syntax errors and converts your programming language into machine language. And then interpreter will execute it in the next step. So here, so in Java, that is a two-step process to run a program. But in Python, it runs on an interpreter system already. That means compiler and interpreter, they both work together. Then Python can be treated in various ways. Like you can treat it as a procedural way or object-oriented way or functional way. So these are basically different types of approaches to work in Python. So this you will be learning when you will learn about learn and start working on Python. So you will understand that what are the differences. But here, this is the advantage of Python, that it works in various different ways. Then what are the career paths in Python? Like what all designations a person can get when they finish Python. So the first is data analyst, which is a very in demand role right now. So data analyst and scientist work with massive data sets. So basically data set means that the historical data which is present on internet, and through various sources we can collect the data. So data analysts can uh, do data visualization, like they can visualize the data in a graphical form. They can develop models, predictive models, which can do some prediction for the future. So for these things, a person should be also aware of machine learning and data science. Then with Python, we can also go for product manager role. So product managers are used to assist organizations in comprehending the industry, and they are basically they are basically managing how developing one product will be superior to developing another. So product managers need to conduct market research, look for new features relevant to a specific product or category, and support the development of particular goods using the data. So they focus a lot on their efforts on the data. So because of this reason, most businesses nowadays are looking for product managers which are proficient in Python. Then you can also become a cyber security expert, because in field of cyber security there are frequent online threats. So to manage all that, Python is very useful. So Python will assist the developers to create and train such models. Like you have AI applications, artificial intelligence, which can be used to create such applications to defend against online threats. Then we have machine learning engineer. So machine learning engineer uses Python to create any smart technology we have. So it is all about computer vision, where you are creating real-time applications. You are working with various other research scientists to engage in scientific research. So these are some of the career paths you can choose after you have learned Python.